Welcome to Planet of the Tapes, the show where we celebrate the VHS format in spirit, if not always in form. The film we're talking about today is Dangerous Men, recently unearthed by Drafthouse Films. The story behind this film has become something of a legend. It was the long-term passion project of director John S. Rad. He started filming it with his own money around 1984, tinkered with the editing for about 10 years, possibly combined it with an unrelated film, edited for another 10 years, and eventually released it in 2005. Almost no one saw it at the time, but 10 years after that, Drafthouse Films re-released it, and it's begun developing a cult following to rival The Room or Miami Connection. Describing this film is nearly an impossible challenge. Synopses, trailers do not do it justice. If there's a main story thread, it appears to be about a woman, Mina, who embarks on a revenge-fueled killing spree targeting, quote-unquote, dangerous men, after she is assaulted by bikers that kill her fiancé. There's no shortage of dangerous men in this film. Nearly every male character turns out to be a violent predator. But soon her story is abandoned in favor of another. Halfway around the world, if I'm not mistaken, there's a cop attempting to track down the leader of the biker gang responsible for assaulting her. That's the most sense I can make out of it. The plot drifts freely from character to character, storyline to storyline. There are plenty of digressions, including a memorable one following one of Mina's would-be attackers, who is left to wander nude in the desert and reflect on his actions for several minutes of screen time. None of it adds up. None of it seems to lead anywhere, and that's part of the fun.
Movies like this are a really rare breed. You could tell watching it that it comes from a real place of sincerity. And
yes,
the director behind it is very mysterious. There seems to be a common trend with films of this ilk that they're helmed by people who are generally very secretive and there's not a lot of information about their lives. I'm referring to people like Tommy Wiseau and to a lesser extent maybe like YK Kim, but still this John Rad, he has a very special view of the world that makes this a pretty entertaining ride. Basically, as you implied in your plot description, in the world of John Rad, there's men and women, and then within the men, there's two categories of men. There's bikers, and there's rapists. And then it's like a Venn diagram where you put them together, and then you have the biker rapists in the middle. And basically, the women have to navigate this world of bikers and rapists and biker rapists. They are in constant danger walking around. They are likely to be attacked or targeted for no specific reason. And their only means of defense is either carrying a knife, carrying a gun, or engaging in very bad martial arts.
There's not really a way to convey the experience of watching the film where it just kind of goes from this to that, and there were many times watching it where I, as a viewer, when more characters were introduced, and we'd seem to be following one person, and then another character would slowly emerge as a focal point for a while. There were so many points where I was feeling kind of frustrated and seriously wondering, did I miss something essential? Was there like a piece of information that just went by me at some point that would have made all of this clear? And gradually as it went along, I started realizing it wasn't me. That was just the nature of the film. And it's sort of like, it's very distinct from any other movies of this type. You can watch clips and things, you can see cheesy fight scenes, cheesy dialogue, the synthesizer soundtrack, all of that. But it's really in the way that this one is assembled that makes it stand out so much. It is like the avant-garde cousin to movies like The Room and Miami Connection. It is very experimental in a way, and I wonder if the fact that it had such a long process of kind of ripening like that, I feel like that is what gave it this specific quality. What came out is really like nothing else, and that's what makes it so fascinating. Maybe if he had lived longer, or if he had started making movies earlier, maybe there would have been a second one another 30 years later, but I feel like the unique story behind this, the unique situation behind it, is what makes the film itself such a standout and such an experience.
You have a window into this world that is completely alien, and it's just kind of drifting from one person to the next, very like a Robert Altman movie or something, where you just have this assemblage of characters that you're just kind of drifting in and out of their lives, and some people that you think aren't going to come back do, and some people that you think are going to make it to the end just suddenly drop off and you never hear from them again. And I happen to know that some of those characters don't return because of production reasons. They just did not want to finish filming their scenes. So there's some logistic reasons why certain characters don't come back to the end.
I see. I feel like this was more of an auteur-driven piece. Like, the reason to watch it is for John S. Rad's very specific vision for what he achieves through his unique methods. And yeah, for this bizarre worldview that he has, this bizarre sense of how to link things together, how to connect things, how to convey information, or sometimes just skip over information and to get to what he feels is the important thing to focus on. That is sort of the fascination here, is to try to understand what was driving the person who made it and why they made the choices they made, which does have its fascination and is certainly a very fun, entertaining thing to do in this case, because it is so different and it is so puzzling in so many ways.
The joy of watching Dangerous Men is the unpredictability and the moment-to-moment strangeness of it. So I wouldn't want any of that spoiled. And I think before watching it, as little as you can watch and see, the better. I think, honestly, there's so much in here that even if we did list our favorite moments, there would still be a wealth of scenes that you could pick out that aren't named by anybody else, because it is in every scene there is something to pick out that's offbeat and weird. I can already see, even after just one viewing, there's just too much to humanly comprehend in one sitting. It's just impossible to take everything in. So I'm excited for repeat viewings.
There's something for everybody.
There is, truly.